Arch Manning is the best college football quarterback we have seen since Tim Tebow entered the scene in 2006. Start to worry a little bit about your predictions when Arch has more commercials in the first quarter than he does completions. Ultimately, he was terrible.
Target's not on our back. We got a red dot on everyone else.
We have been documenting Arch Manning all off-season long, and after one game, people are already saying that he is the college football equivalent to Bronny James. Crazy that Bronny's catching strays. I mean, if you think that's bad, how about this one? Arch when he isn't playing Louisiana Monroe? Steve Sarkisian is already saying that the expectations placed on Arch Manning were a little bit too much.
And so for Arch, the expectations were out of control on the outside, but I'd say let's finish the book before we judge it. Right? This is one chapter, and we got a long season to go play.
You could even see his uncles are very frustrated at his performance on Saturday.
Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Good play.
I told you he was fucking adopted.
And we're going to break down some film in this video, but the most diabolical film I have for you guys today is the fact that Arch Manning's mechanics apparently look exactly identical to Uncle Rico's. So we have a lot to talk about in this video. It's a video that we've been working on all weekend long because I want to make sure that we addressed everything that had to do with Arch Manning's terrible debut. Real quick, I have a huge announcement to make for you guys. Now, before we get to the content, if you've ever wanted to work for a sports content creator, we are currently looking for short form editors to make TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube shorts for us. If you're a video editor that thinks they would absolutely dominate at this position, you create highly engaging content that could keep up to the standards of this YouTube channel, then send an email to theflightmike@gmail.com with 2 videos that you are very proud to work on and your resume, and you could potentially be working on my next video. NFL season's around the corner, and Dak Prescott just needs 1 passing yard in order for his square to hit. Guys, you can sign up with my promo code Mikerophone to get a free $50 in lineups when you play $5 or more on Prize Picks. Once you get that, use $25 on this lineup here to make $131. I've already been making picks so I can snipe the best lines early on. And in this case, I'm pairing Dak Prescott to get 1 passing yard, which is a free square, with Kyren Williams getting a touchdown at any point and Justin Jefferson scoring a touchdown versus the Chicago Bears. On top of that, if you want more plays, I've created an incredible Discord community of experts in the WAP link in the description down below. And thank you, Prize Picks, for today's sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The 2025 college football season is officially underway, and it has been much anticipated. Not only were football fans just ready to be back supporting their favorite school like maniacs, but we were also given the most anticipated week 1 matchup of all time, when the preseason #1 Texas Longhorns faced off against the preseason #2 Ohio State Buckeyes. Not only that, but this game was set to be the start of what many anticipated to be a historic season from a historic prospect, as Arch Manning was finally given the keys to the Texas offense. Well, let's just say that didn't really go according to plan. Arch Manning was absolutely horrible against the reigning national champion Buckeyes, and this very well may be an alarming glimpse into the future. After a few glimpses of one of the top quarterback prospects in recent memory last season, we finally saw Arch Manning begin his first full season as a college football starter, and it did not provide much optimism for the future. In a rematch of the Cotton Bowl in January of this year against Ohio State, Arch Manning would complete 17 of his 30 pass attempts for 170 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, failing to topple the reigning champions in a 14-7 contest. And what we could call a prove-it game for the young gunslinger, Texas came into this game as the #1 ranked team in the country, and due to Arch underperforming how he did, Texas became the first preseason #1 ranked team to lose its season opener in 35 years when the Craig Erickson-led Miami Hurricanes would lose to 16th ranked BYU in 1990. This only happened in college football 6 other times, and arguably much worse, there are only 2 preseason #1 teams in history to score fewer points in their season opener than Texas did on Saturday. This was also the first time the Longhorns had been shut out through 3 quarters in a game since 2015. Pretty much, they were terrible in this particular game. Arch disappointed every single Texas fan in the country with his performance. But this disappointment doesn't just stem from the numbers and the result of the game. This disappointment also mostly stems from the way he actually performed on the field. I'm going to go over a few plays that caught my eye while watching this game to show you just how bad Arch actually was on Saturday. Here on the first play of the season for both of these teams, Arch shows something thing that immediately calls for concern. I won't go really in depth with this play like I usually do, because there's only one thing I want to point out from this play, and that's the throw itself. Everything about this play went right, and a rolling out Arch Manning had a wide open receiver to start the season off with a bang, but somehow he throws a complete duck, missing his guy and looking silly in the process. The reason? He decided to throw this ball sidearm. This change makes absolutely no sense, because if you look at his first start from last year against UL Monroe, it's clear that he's able to make quick, accurate throws with a normal arm slot as opposed to overcomplicating things. Just keep an eye out for this throwing motion in the next few plays I'm going to show you, because it definitely causes some problems. Later in the first quarter, on Texas's first drive of the series, the Longhorns line up with Arch under center, a halfback behind him, and two tight ends on the right side of the offensive line. This is a key run formation, but Steve Sarkisian tried to throw off Matt Patricia's defense by running play action on 1st and 10, which doesn't work to perfection per se, but it does set up a pretty good pocket for Arch to sit back and make a big time throw. Instead, Arch doesn't move his feet whatsoever. He waits for the left side of his pocket to collapse, and you think he'd take a step or two back to create some space to get the ball out, right? Well, that's not what would happen. Arch would stand in place in a collapsing pocket, and by the time he goes to throw the ball, his left tackle is collapsing right into him, forcing unnecessary pressure that could have been avoided if he were to just step back in the pocket, resulting in a complete overthrow of what would have been an easy Texas first down. This next play isn't noteworthy on paper at all, but the film screams issues for Manning. In a simple shotgun formation near midfield, Arch calls for the snap and drops back, looking to his right before making his way to the left side of the field and finding a big dig from his slot receiver. Now, there are two things to note here. Right as Arch throws the ball, the first thing of note is that his receiver, DeAndre Moore Jr., ran an absolutely horrendous route, which automatically creates less space, making this a bad decision from Arch already. But that brings me to my second point, Caleb Downs. Downs, arguably the best player in all of college football, starts this play in the box, but makes his way over to this dig once he sees Arch staring it down. So Downs, the unbelievable player that he is, breaks on the ball expecting Arch to throw it right to him, but he doesn't. Somehow, Arch holding the ball for too long helped his team, because Downs 100% had a pick six on that play. However, it still didn't result in a positive play, because Arch not only threw the ball when Downs was in Moore's field of view, but he also threw the ball way lower than it should have been, giving Moore minimal time to react to the ball and make a play. This play is absolutely a testament to Caleb Downs, but there's absolutely zero reason that Arch should have gone through with this pass after seeing Downs in the position that he was. The lack of smart decision making and his knack to stare down receivers is a huge play in this next play as well. With the ball almost at midfield and 2nd and long to deal with, Arch and the Longhorns look to make a huge play to swing the momentum after going almost 3 quarters without scoring any points. Arch is going to sit back and completely stare down a receiver, Ryan Wingo, to his right, letting the entire Ohio State defense know that that's where he was looking, before loading up and completely underthrowing this ball by 4 yards, resulting in an untimely interception, one that would prove to be costly to the outcome of this game. This play involves 2 problems that we've gone over already: the fact that Arch loves to stare down his receivers instead of using his eyes like his uncles would, and the fact that his new sidearm motion creates a lot less power than his normal motion would. There's one more play I want to show you, and it genuinely might be the worst of them all. Before the snap, DeAndre Moore is going to motion over the backfield before motioning back over to the strong side of the field, sitting as a check down once the ball is snapped. All game long, the majority of Arch's completions were to checkdowns, but ironically enough, he doesn't find Moore here. Instead, he once again stares down at his first read, and not only does he force this throw into tight coverage, but he throws it behind his target, directly into a Buckeye chest. Luckily for him, this ball was dropped, but this is an absolutely inexcusable throw, especially in enemy territory in the 4th quarter while down 2 possessions. And on top of that, DeAndre Moore was wide open in the backfield. You can throw a check down there on 1st and 10 when nobody else is open. You don't need to force a throw to a covered receiver, especially if you can't make the necessary throw. There's no denying that Arch was horrible against Ohio State, but if we're being honest, the only reason that it's as big of a deal as it is because the expectations that were put on him by fans and especially the media heading into the season. I mean, look at this.
Because I know just how difficult
difficult the position is for a young quarterback and even for a veteran quarterback in a hostile environment like that. First game of the year, no preseason football, right, for these college football teams.
I think people expected far too much from Arch in this game. And only his third ever NCAA football start and his first ever road start, he was expected to walk into the home of the reigning national champions and throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns against him. But that was never going to happen. But nobody expected him to play this badly. But he shouldn't have been expected to put up 2019 Joe Burrow numbers either. It really does all come down to his last name. If you compare his first road start to his uncle's first road start, you'll see that he did indeed have the worst game out of the 3. But if you don't compare him to the 2 Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks and you compare him to Texas legend Colt McCoy in his first full start instead, his numbers start to look a lot better. He completed 2% fewer of his passes than McCoy had, 14 more yards, and threw a touchdown and a pick, just like McCoy. And ironically enough, McCoy also played Ohio State in his game. I truly believe that the media put far too big of a weight on Arch's shoulders before he even had a chance to properly show off his talents. I mean, he's been mocked to go #1 overall in every 2026 mock draft. He had the best Heisman Trophy odds before the season even started, which is even worse considering that they dropped him to 3rd behind Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier at halftime of this game. And the fact that every single time Quinn Ewers made a mistake last season, fans and media alike would call for Arch to be made the starter. And now that Arch has had one bad game, Texas fans are saying that they really miss Quinn Ewers. It makes no sense. It truly feels as if Arch is not a highly successful quarterback, not just at the collegiate level, but in the NFL as well, then he'll be considered a failure. His last name has created way too much hype around his name, and I'm sure the kid feels it. He's only 20 years old, and he has all season to improve. This was a horrible start, but it's not the end of the world.